You are now tuned into Flippin' the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
So apparently we're live. I do apologize because my computer is completely freezing and I can't add nobody to the stream. I don't even know what happened to the intro.
You good now?
I'm not seeing nothing. I see you smiling with your eyes closed.
I can see everybody.
Yeah, you're slow on your end, Brian, but everyone else is fine.
Let me see what the heck is going on. I wonder if StreamYard got a little creative. Damn. What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 151 of Flippin' the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron.
He doesn't miss a beat.
Alongside Morgan Burkett, Eric Reese, and Zach Chavalella. Ooh, Frozen Brian still says it right.
That's what I was gonna say, but you were already on it. You're already on one.
Yeah. Dude, it sucks. Like everybody's just freezing. But you know what? We're gonna rock out.
You're good.
I say
it's good karma.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna follow the flow of your voices.
Perfect.
We're gonna get a little, a little yoga-esque on here.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Hippie-ish.
Perfect.
Hey?
Marco.
Dude, I don't know what's going on. Everybody's like going. Who said Marco?
Me.
All right, cool. So, welcome everybody to this very, very weird podcast. I don't know what the hell's going on. We have 10 people in the chat, so welcome everybody to the chat. To the podcast.
Who knows anymore?
Who knows what's going on? We're in the freaking Matrix right now. But yeah, speaking of what's going on, Eagles completely decimated the Titans on Sunday, and A.J. Brown led the charge, over 100 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and he got a GM fired. I think that's history right there. I don't think anybody's ever topped that. Like that has to be not only a franchise record, but an NFL record.
I mean, I would say so. He basically single-handedly destroyed a franchise in 1 week. They're in rebuild mode because of A.J. Brown.
It's just bold to assume that every trade's going to work out the way that the Stephon Diggs trade worked out. You know what I mean? Like, I do understand you don't want to pay A.J. Brown, but, I mean, it looked lopsided then, and it looked lopsided on Sunday, so I don't know what to say. Like, again, I'm not a Titans fan. I don't understand what they were thinking. But, hey, man, A.J. Brown's an Eagle, so fuck him.
Objectively speaking, I don't dislike the Titans, but A.J. Brown ruined your franchise. So it's that's what it is. That's facts.
Yeah, and it was nice to see. I think something that we've kind of talked about as Brian fixes his stuff is that it seemed to be kind of one game or the other for the receivers. You know, whether it's like A.J. Brown getting going, or it was DeVonta Smith, or it was Dallas Goedert when he was healthy, but. Pretty good game from DeVonta Smith this time around as well. Got the 1 touchdown. Had over 100 yards, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, he did
as well. So it was nice to finally have a game. And again, they didn't run the ball much, so you got to find balance somewhere. But the balance this time was spreading the ball around. Obviously between those 2 receivers, without the tight end, you only have so many options, but still, it was nice to see them spread the ball around for sure. You're a bit slow, Brian, but
yeah. So I figured out what's going on. StreamYard added this phenomenal new feature where it records everybody individually, so there's no skips when people watch the broadcast. And I'm paying the repercussions of it.
Oh, okay. Well, at least it'll be nice on an awkward when you go to look it back.
Yeah, it is what it is at this point, right? Hopefully I can turn that off for the next session. It's a little like if I can't turn it off right now, but Whatever. I see Zach smiling. I see Eric smiling, and Morgan's
Yeah,
licking
it's
his
fine.
lips for some weird reason. And he's
He's a
frozen
lick
like that
lipper.
right now.
It's all right. He's a lick lipper.
But you guys are saying, shit, I don't even know what you guys are saying. I just jumped in.
Yeah, we were just talking about how it was nice to see the offense feature both AJ Brown and Devontae Smith pretty evenly. I mean, again, you threw the ball to AJ Brown quite a bit, but still, you got Smitty involved early. He was good. They got him the ball doing what he likes to do. Even saw Quez get his until unfortunately, didn't need to anymore really. But that's all we're saying. It was nice to see the balance.
I completely agree. I mean, it was great to see. First and foremost, can we just give a round of applause to Jalen Hurts for just picking apart the Titans defense, 74% completion percentage, and on top of that, he threw 3 touchdowns and ran for 1 touchdown and no picks. No, there was no how can I say this? There was no hiccup in his game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And if you ever had a question of MVP, there's no possible way you question this kid right now because he looks better than Carson looked in 2017, and he's doing it in all facets of the game. He's literally controlling the game for the Eagles and controlling the game against the defense as well. It's phenomenal to see this as a second year as a starter.
Yeah. Well, the coaching staff for the Eagles, they did the scouting of their opponent ahead of time. They knew that Tennessee has a solid run defense. They know that they do not have a quality pass defense. So obviously passing is going to be the game plan. But the beauty of what Jalen Hurts has developed into is that kind of like how this Eagles team can win any certain kind of way. We've seen them win so many different ways with the defense. We've seen them win in the running game. We've seen them win with the deep ball, in the short passing game. There's so many different ways we've seen the Eagles win this season. Jalen Hurts, which is where it all starts, he can tailor his game to what the Eagles need, right? So we saw that last week when he ran for, 150 plus yards that he ran for. That's what the Eagles needed out of Jalen Hurts that week. This week, aerial attack, that's what the game plan calls for. That's what the matchup calls for. Jalen Hurts was not only willing, but able to take advantage of it. And he had a near 400-yard game with 4 total touchdowns. So, I mean, it really speaks to that MVP conversation, like you're saying, Ryan. I mean, what's more valuable than a guy that can do it all?
That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's
I thought Eric was jumping in, so that's why I stopped.
I mean, I just shut everybody up. Let's just pack it up and go home,
tuning in this
guys.
week. We'll see you guys next week.
I apologize. No, I mean, you guys hit it right on the head. The guy's pretty much playing perfectly, right? And he's carrying the team in crucial times, and putting it together against the Titans the way they did. It does kind of beg to question, how good is this team against the elites? That's what I'm waiting for at this point. And
Can we talk about that really quick? Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that.
Because I feel like I'm gonna let you continue with this because I don't know if anybody saw this, but the Super Bowl percentage chance from ESPN, where the Cowboys are 48 to 50%, and the Eagles are I think it's 28 or 13%. One of those two. Eric, I'll let you take away from there, but that's a mind blowing BS stat.
Yeah, I didn't really understand how. I mean, in my opinion, and I'm trying to put the bias out of it, I do think that the Eagles have a leg on the Bills. I think we still have something to prove against the Cowboys because we didn't play a healthy Cowboys. And the Chiefs, I think, are pretty much the equivalent of us, except, I mean, it depends if we have Jordan Davis or not at the end of the day. I think that's the X factor. I think, I don't know if the Eagles are at the top of that list, but they're surely not at the bottom of it as far as, the percentages of going to the Super Bowl and maybe winning it.
But I feel like math should tell you if a team is 11-1, ideally the math should say this team has the best percentages of winning the Super Bowl or winning the conference championship, whatever case may be. Ideally, that to me, that's how math should work. A team that's 9-3, the third best team in the conference, has a better percentage to win a Super Bowl than the Vikings and the Eagles and the Bills and the Chiefs. There's got to be a Cowboys fan behind that stat.
There's always so much recency bias when it comes into these kind of things. And, I think, you saw the Eagles kind of struggle against the Colts, and then you see, the Vikings game against the Cowboys too, where it's just, but in the last couple weeks, the Vikings have been hot, or the Cowboys.
Well.
What?
the Cowboys struggled against the Colts as well until the third, like mid-third quarter.
Yeah,
And
and
the
then
defense
put
came,
up
not the
and then
offense.
put up how many points in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, it was crazy, but it was the defense doing everything.
Right, but that's a testament to how this team's hitting. So listen, I still think the Eagles are probably the better team, but again, it's results. Results based. If you look at the scores, and that's what all these people do, they look at the scores at the end of the games, and then they figure out the math that way. But man, it's going to be a hell of a game when the Eagles play the Cowboys, because I think that's really the challenge. Like, that's the team to beat in the NFC for the Eagles. If it's not the Eagles themselves, then it's the Cowboys, which would be an awesome clash to see in the NFC title game. That would be crazy. That'll be nuts, regardless. And there's a good chance it'll happen, because I don't know, man. Like, the Vikings just don't do it for me.
Nobody really does it outside of Cowboys and Eagles. I mean, not even the Niners now without Jimmy G.
Exactly. Well, we'll see what they could what they can do with Mr. Irrelevant. It's really that defense, right? And that defense, they're not taking any steps back. But yeah, I really do think it's the Cowboys. But to see them have such a higher percentage than the Eagles is kind of crazy. I mean, fuck it, that's what we've always done, right? The underdogs. So it should work.
Yeah. I mean, I think it works in Philadelphia's favor. I mean, just like you said, Morgan, like that mentality, like you almost kind of recreate that magic of 17 in a sense. But I think this team is better than the team in 17. And that was a good team. Like, that's not, obviously there was a lot of stuff fell the right way for Philadelphia. I'm not going to lie, about that as far as the 17 Super Bowl. But that being said, they had to have the talent to take advantage of those situations. So that was a good team. I think this one's better. So I think if they take this team with that mentality, obviously that is huge for their Super Bowl chances. But as far as a Dallas-Philadelphia title matchup, I think whether or not you are an Eagles fan, you are a Cowboys fan, that is without a doubt the best NFC title game matchup.
That's must-see TV.
Anybody. That's must-see TV. That is the best case situation for the NFL, for the fans at large. Like it is just, I mean, all the storylines, obviously Eagles, Cowboys, but now you're gonna have the quarterback battle of two of the top NFC quarterbacks, and Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. You have the running back committee of Pollard and Elliott versus the Eagles back committee. The defense of Philadelphia, which is a little bit more, Dallas's defense gets a little bit more of that high praise, that easy notoriety. But that being said, like, Philadelphia's defense
is damn
it's
good.
It's not overly sexy in the sense that they're not going to shut you out like 3 times, like 3 games in a season, right? But that being said, like, they're in complete control of the game. Like, don't get that twisted at all. I mean, you watch this team play against Minnesota, you watch this team play against Tennessee, like, what you get, that defense gives you, allows you to have, right? And the fact that we're talking about that kind of a defense lets you know that when it comes to, push comes to shove, when the moment actually comes up, I think this Jonathan Gannon defense is actually going to be able to lock down. Now, he's never going to blitz as much as fans want to see him, as much as I want to see him blitz. That being said, they don't have to. And that's just a testament to how good this defense is, how good this front attack is, especially with a healthy Jordan Davis back in the mix, especially with Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh back in the mix, or rather new additions to the team. Like, this is a serious defense. Let's not think it's just Jalen Hurts versus the Cowboys defense. These are 2 fairly complete teams. So I get the Cowboys having a high percentage chance, but that being said, listen, you're 11-1. You have the potential MVP on your team. And you have, I don't know if he's been overtaken this past week, but up until the injury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson led the league in interceptions. Like, you do have sexy stat makers on this defense. So it's going to be a highlight show. Like, that is what I'm hoping for as just an NFL viewer, just as an NFL fan wanting to watch the best possible game. I think that'd be huge for the league. One of the best games of the year.
And I think the key thing as well to kind of compare them to 2017's team. That 2017 defense was good, but it wasn't this good. Like, we didn't have the cornerbacks at this level, like lockdown cornerbacks. Where, I mean, it was like 4 targets against the Bradbury and Darius Slay this Sunday, and it was like no catches. Like these cornerbacks are damn near good, and you have Gardner Johnson coming back. You have Dallas Goedert coming back on offense. Like this team, like at least to me right now, is way better than the 2017 team. Now, granted, it feels like possibly the Cowboys are way better than that for at that time. Vikings, quote unquote, could be better. We don't know because hey, we faced them in week 2, so I'll give them that much. But outside of that, like the landscape is pretty thin. So ideally, it may just be I hate to say this, maybe a smooth sell to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I was going to kind of agree on that, Brian. I'm looking at the playoff picture in the NFC right now with the Vikings. That just the way that we previously played the Vikings, and this probably not going to be the same team if you meet them again in the same contest. But I'm pretty confident. And then the 49ers, they don't have Jimmy G anymore, so it kind of bounces them out. I'm not satisfied with anybody in the NFC South as far as an opponent. So I don't care who it is. The Cowboys, again, have as we both said, would be the team that I'm looking at as a potential measuring stick. And the Giants, I'm not that crazy, threatened about. And the Seahawks are a mixed bag, but I'm not crazy threatened about them either. I think the Eagles are kind of playing like a superstar team. They have a superstar feel, and that's how they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zach made a good point, and it's kind of how you phrase it regarding the defense. But is it going to be the number one defense in the league at any point in the year? Probably not. But really, all you need from a defense is to hold your opponent to less points than the offense can, and that's like. I was talking about even the Titans matchup, and obviously there was some worry, and we saw how good the tackling was, against Derrick Henry, which is crazy. Obviously, because I brought it up last week, Marcus Epps missed a couple tackles, but outside of that, really good tackling. And so what you need from this defense really is to hold a team below their average points, essentially, because the Eagles are able to kind of withstand the blows of that and just put up points. Like it's not, I mean, there definitely has been flashy plays, but it almost seems as if like the Eagles don't put up flashy numbers in these flashy plays. Again, you'll see the couple long bombs to AJ Brown, and those are big splash plays, but really the essence of this offense and how this team functions is to grind you down and put up points. And if there's a couple long bombs in there and a couple splash plays in there, that's fantastic. But that's really not what this offense is about. And I just think it's less flashy than, the Cowboys, for example, or Justin Jefferson making a miraculous one-hand catch to keep them in against, like, the Cowboys and the Vikings are winning in miraculous ways. The Eagles are going out. Obviously, obviously the Washington game was, maybe a blip in the radar, and then kind of struggle against the Colts, but the Eagles are getting it done, man. And as far as I can tell, the most important stat for the defense is 11-1, right? That's the most important stat. And even against even against Washington and even against the Colts, it was the defense that held them in that game. So you don't really need this to be a number one defense. What you need is for them to keep you in the game, and all season they've been doing that. Right. And so when the going gets tough, it seems like this defense responds. And that's the scary thing come playoffs is you could put up 30 points, but when you need that first down, when you need that score, that's when they turn it on. And absolutely, Drew, that's a great point. Listen, man, there was a couple of times, we saw Josiah Scott take Derrick Henry on one-on-one. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of corners that'll do that, which is impressive. Like he has stepped in and done an admirable job, but Maddox does really give you that extra step, especially on the cover side of things. And we saw that against the Colts, how they have that combo of Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman, how a combo like that in the slot can give them problems. So absolutely bringing back Monte will be huge. And Jordan Davis, having him back is going to be huge. And especially now you get to spell Jordan Davis with Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. Yeah.
And the key thing about Jordan Davis against the Titans was he only played 6 snaps.
Right.
Like that's kind of wild.
But he made an impact.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely did. But you stopped Derrick Henry. You saw Nakobe Dean make an impact. And one thing we were talking about the explosive offenses, and a key thing that I saw this weekend was a stat, NFL Next Gen stat, where I think it's like the first time in NFL Next Gen, as long as NFL Next Gen has been around, where Jalen Hurts has been extremely efficient in three deep passes in one game. Like I forgot what the stat was. I don't know if anybody can find that. But it was something that storyline. You see, like it's like what Zach said. Like this team could beat you on the ground, could beat you on the air. The defense can hold their part and hold it down for the offense. Like this is definitely one of the most complete teams I've ever witnessed in the NFL.
One thing I really want to add to that is we've been talking for a while, but a great special teams performance against the Titans, and that was massive. You saw how many times the Eagles started close to half field. That's makes a world of difference. And we were talking about, maybe Britton Covey's not the return. Well, look at the difference it makes when people are willing to block, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like that guy gets a block on the first man, and then he gets going. He's a hard guy to tackle. He's fast. He takes one cut and he's downfield. That's what you want from a returner. And finally, I don't know if it was just the special teams, like as a whole, like players and coaches kind of felt their jobs, on the line and they responded. But if we can get that kind of production from the special teams and you can set Jalen Hurts up in short fields, it's going to be problematic. Like you do that all the time. And that was a huge difference in this game. Like if you look at where they're starting their drives, and they're not starting at the 12-yard line anymore. They're not starting at the 26. They're starting at the 40, even sometimes the 50. A massive difference, a world of difference. And that's one of those things that is just translatable in the playoffs. It doesn't matter what team you're playing. If you can make special teams plays and create short field situations, you have a good chance of winning.
Definitely the most complete game that they played this season. And before we bring on our guest to cover Giants and Eagles, one point we got to definitely touch upon is A.J. Brown. What a world of difference he's made for the Eagles this season. 50 yards shy from reaching 1,000 yards. 1 touchdown shy from reaching 10 touchdowns in the season. Like he's doing things that Eagles fans only dreamed of having. And to think we traded a first and a third and got probably one of the best receivers in the league. And now we're cruising. Devontae Smith is open more than half the time. Dallas Goedert was eating. Quez Watkins is trying to find himself. So it's like it's phenomenal. It's like what you got from adding James Bradbury to the defense. Like that effect and that impact. And you saw his potential. I mean, that last touchdown, the second touchdown, in the end zone where he literally just a jump ball. And he had that right there. I mean, just to see a player be a difference maker for the Eagles this season, it makes a world of difference.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So, bring it back from last season. We're gonna bring back Mikey Fresh to talk about Eagles and Giants. Man, how you feeling, Mike?
Thanks for having me, fellas. Much appreciated. I'm looking forward to the game this week, and I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
Frozen up a little bit. But
where do you want to start? You want to start with our incompetent? It's okay now?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? With our previous GM being incompetent and letting Bradbury walk out the door and join Slay to make one of the best corner tandems in the league? Or do you want to start with Jalen Hurts as the MVP candidate, or the fact that you have one of the best offensive lines in the league, or the best receiver duo in the league? Where should we start?
Let's start with Saquon. Let's start with you guys, honestly, because and I know the guys are gonna be flack about this, so I'm gonna beat them to the punch. But I was actually impressed about how the Giants started this season. I was impressed by the defense. I was impressed by the fact that Saquon, they were running the offense through Saquon. So let's start with that. I mean, you guys had a hot start. In recent weeks, he's kind of fallen apart a little bit, but hey, injuries, could get to you. Then you guys lost a majority of your wide receiver squad. And Daniel Jones has not looked the part as of late. So how you feeling about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think all Giant fans are definitely excited with the new coach. I think you need a couple things to go right to have sustained success and a legitimate organization, and a lot of it starts with the head coach. So we have our head coach, and that's exciting. What he's done with this roster, which is a flawed roster, has been impressive. The start nobody saw coming, and the last couple weeks they're kind of like falling back down to earth a little bit, and some of the injuries have caught up with them. They have guys playing key roles that were either practice squad players or guys that were picked up off the street, really, like playing key roles and contributing. So it's caught up with them. That can only last for so long. And I'm looking forward to the offseason where they can address some of the holes in the roster. But I think that the coach has gotten the most he could out of these guys, and they fight. And some guys have stepped up and had pretty big years. So that's definitely exciting. But it should be a good matchup, man. I mean, is Jordan Davis playing? I know you guys touched on him a little bit. I know he's been banged up.
Yeah, he might be on a snap count. He only played 6 snaps last game, but he'll be there. But kind of inversely, one of the things that the Giants have kind of gotten out is the O-line seems to actually be able to to do some things, which has been a problem in the past, where the Giants consistently kind of struggled on O-line and struggled to find those pieces. But the big change is that run game. Obviously, having Saquon back makes a huge difference. But what has that done for this offense, really, to kind of get the most essentially out of Daniel Jones and actually be able to drive down the field?
Yeah, a quarterback that looks competent, right? We haven't seen that
exactly.
in a few years. You know what? I think that Andrew Thomas is a stud. He's one of the best left tackles in the league. The other guys, it's been hit and miss, but for the most part, they've gotten earlier in the year, they were a lot better at run blocking. Right. Saquon is either a little bit banged up, maybe lost a little bit of his bursts. In the last 5 games, he's just averaging 3 yards and change per carry. A little of that's on him, and a little of that is that the run blocking has not been as good. They've shuffled some guys in and out on the line. But pass blocking, I think they've done a decent job for the most part this year. Some of the sacks that have been allowed, or some of them could be on Jones, some of them could be on the O-line. But for the most part, like they've done better than I thought they could, and the coaches have done a good job of really not letting Jones sit back there on 5 and 7 step drops. It's a lot of quick stuff. It's a lot of, they're working with what they have from a receiving core standpoint as well. So they don't have really anybody that scares you. Really, our best option, Darius Slayton, would be the 4th option on your team when you look at it, right? I think Quez Watkins, you can make the case, is maybe a better player than Slayton stride for stride. So a little of it is conservative coaching, but a little of it, they're doing what they can, and they're leaning into Saquon, which is really the only piece on offense that scares the defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're on mute, Brian. Man, real rookie performance from you today, Brian.
I don't know what's going on today. Listen, so Mike, let me talk to you about how we started the podcast. So there's a cool new feature, right? Like where somebody's freezing up, it'll record on your end that it makes it sound perfect when we download the audio. It was on, and apparently I was the only one feeling the consequences of it because it was just freezing me up. It wouldn't let me see anybody. I saw Morgan stuck on licking his lips while everybody was laughing, and I had to get kicked off, and now I'm on mute. But to kind of focus back a little bit on Giants, defensively, I mean, I feel like you guys started with a bang. You guys kept up with a lot of teams early on. What has fallen off ever since? I mean, is it just the injuries, or is it kind of like do you think the team is not really built for the long haul this season? Just they were feeding off the new coaching staff and things of that sort.
Yeah, I think Wink Martindale, the D coordinator, has done a good job. Realistically, I think the defensive letdowns have come really because the offense hasn't put teams away when they should be. Like you could look back to this game against Washington we just had. The defense kept getting the ball back, and the offense just like literally couldn't go up more than a touchdown. So it's a lot when you ask your defense to do that. Like this Giants team hasn't scored 30 points in literally, I think, 28 or 30 straight games now, which is like tied or broken NFL record. They don't put teams away. Earlier in the year, they've done a good job situationally. End of the first half, end of the game, keep it close. At the end of the game, Jones and Barkley have been making plays in those tight games, but they don't put anyone away because they don't have the talent to. We're not steamrolling anybody like you guys have done most of the year. So on the defensive end, I think that they've kind of done a good job with what they had. And this past week was the first time that Azeez Ojulari, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, and Kayvon Thibodeau have been on the field together at the same time. And you saw a little bit of a pass rush, which is exciting. But Wink Martindale has done a good job of kind of creating pressure. And hey, he leaves those guys on an island. Guys like Nick McLeod and Fabian Moreau, who are literally practice squad or scrap heap pickups, have done a really good job in coverage, and they're just being left on an island. So it'll be interesting to see how we handle you guys this week and kind of pick your poison, whether they're just going to go man to man and try to blitz Hurts I don't know. Should be a good measuring stick for us to see if we can keep it competitive and maybe be like a feel good game, like the 07 team battled the Patriots the last game of the year, or the 2011 team battled Green Bay, who was 15-1 that year and lost a close game. Like, I think it could either catapult us to being confident as we head down the stretch run, or a reminder of realistically where this roster is compared to one of the best in the league.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I wanted to go with the conversation. I know we're talking about this matchup, but we have two matchups coming up between the Eagles and the Giants, and luckily, just with our record and how we've been playing, a lot of the Eagles conversation is just about what do we need to fix and retool to go into the play.
And to secure the 1 seed.
Yeah, exactly. And so for the Giants, rightfully so, are in that playoff picture. It's a bit worrisome, with the last couple of results. But what do you think is the key for this Giants defense to hit stride and kind of make that playoff push over the next couple of weeks?
I think it's the pass rush. If they can get pressure with those guys, it's been really, I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but it's been like hanging on by a thread that these guys in coverage with some of the injuries are holding up, because they're actually covering really well considering there are no names back there. Like, you'll see some guys in coverage that really, like, you won't know the names of, and they've done a good job. Like, you'll look and they're stride for stride with the receivers. But if the pass rush can really get on the opposing quarterbacks, it'll help out that back end tremendously. So I think that's the key. The other thing is, we've been run on all year long. You guys are going to probably run for a lot of yards on us. Our run defense is weak. Our linebackers are weak. We have a good D line, but the linebacking core, we have guys playing middle linebacker that, quite frankly, should be role players. Like, we picked up Jalen Smith, the former Cowboy. We have Tay Crowder and a guy McFadden, who was like a 5th round, 6th round pick this year, who really are just overmatched. So we've been getting gashed a lot in the run game, and luckily we've been good situationally in terms of bend don't break and red zone numbers and third down numbers, which is a credit to the coaching.
Yeah.
So with the Eagles coming to MetLife now, even if I would love to see a close game, because it's more exciting that way. But if we have a close game, I'm pretty sure ESPN will say the Dallas Cowboys have an 80% chance of winning the Super Bowl. And
I heard you talking about that. That's funny. That's funny. I think, from, like you were saying earlier, in the NFC, like, you guys, I'm really in the whole league, you guys really match up well with anyone. And I think, the key when it comes down to it is, like, Jalen Hurts has tremendously developed his game. When I was on this last year, we talked a lot about Jalen Hurts, and one of the things I said, and a lot of the people said, that I kind of want to see him down in the second half. Like, is he the type of player that can beat you from the pocket when the other team knows? And, granted, they've had a lead in a lot of second halves, but I think in the last few weeks specifically, his development as a passer has been incredible. AJ Brown has been a huge piece to that, but he's really impressed me, man. Like, he has gotten strides better. I'm talking about like a Josh Allen type of a jump, like a Lamar Jackson type of a jump, how he's developed as a passer. So right now, you got to look at Hurts play, and you got to love everything about his game. Like, there's really nothing he's shown this year that he's not capable of doing. So that's where you have to feel like you can really go in against anybody. And if other parts of the game aren't working, if you go up against a Mahomes in a Super Bowl, if you go up against, that's the thing, there's no NFC quarterbacks really. Like, I think the way that Hurts is playing, he's proven to be better than Dak. Dak needs, in my opinion, some help around him. Like, I don't think he's a great, like, elevator of teammates. Dak, like, he's got the intangibles and stuff, but with Rodgers out of the picture, with Brady having a down year, with the Rams out of it, with the injury to Garoppolo, as you guys mentioned, like, does Kirk Cousins scare you? Like, you guys already beat them up. Like, I don't know. Like, you guys are the team to beat in the NFC, and the pressure will be on you guys, in the playoffs to overcome those demons of last year and stuff. But until you guys are knocked off, you guys are right now the cream of the crop.
So what do you feel needs to happen for the Giants to pull off an upset, or to even keep the game close?
Kind of the formula like it's been this year, right? Like pound Barkley, keep the Eagles offense on the sideline, play ball control, be really good situationally, be good on
Mhm.
third downs, bend don't break, keep you guys to field goals in the red zone. Maybe get a few turnovers, which again, you guys from a turnover differential have had a phenomenal season.
Right.
We've done a good job not turning over the ball for the most part as well. So I think the turnover thing will be big. And I think like situationally, like for us to win, I think it'll be like a third down situation. Like we'll have to hold you guys to 2 of 11 on third down. We'll have to be pretty productive on third down and then red zone. Like when we've won this year, when we've upset teams, that it's been like that. It's been like they'll drive the field, but once they get to the red zone, we'll clamp down. And whatever opportunities we get, like whether it's a short field or this and that, we've in the games that we've won, Daniel Jones and Barkley have led like a 15-play, 8-minute drive to eat some clocks. I think some of those things are going to have to come to fruition in order for us to have an opportunity.
And that's a key thing. I mean, that's how the Commanders beat the Eagles. They had the time possession. I think it was like 41 minutes to 19 minutes. The Colts, they kept it close because they had the ball for 31 minutes while the Eagles had it for 28 minutes. So that's a huge key component to beating the Eagles.
Yeah,
Um,
and again, you guys play that game too, though, with your offensive line, and
Right.
it's interesting because I think like it's tough, man. It's going to be a tough matchup. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like where I wanted to go with the discussion around the defense is that bend but don't break mentality. Obviously harder to do when you're missing pieces, but that's seemingly the thing, like Brian was saying, that works against the Eagles is making this team drive down the field. And we saw last year with Jalen Hurts struggling to do that against the Giants, throwing 3 interceptions, right? And so kind of where I see maybe some development, the most development is just Jalen Hurts not making those mistakes and not forcing things, not scrambling out of the pocket, making crazy throws. And that's just kind of expanded just how potent this offense can be because there's more opportunities, there's more of this, there's more of that. But moving into that offensive side, controlling the clock and all that, what do you think is going to be key for this offense to deal with that defensive line of the Eagles that's been so good? And just a kind of allowing Daniel Jones to probably get the ball out early. I assume they're going to continue doing that. And then 2 is Saquon. You saw how they handled the Titans running game, which is also very potent. What do you think the Giants can do to sustain drives?
You know what? Slayton, as as much as I've criticized him the last few years, he's really stepped up this year when there's nothing. He still has the drops, but he'll make some plays. Like I think maybe they're gonna have to look for him to make a play or two. But realistically, one of the things they haven't done that I am critical of the coaching staff on, because it's really hard to criticize this coaching staff based on how this year has gone with the talent they have and what they've accomplished, is they haven't done a great job of getting Barkley too involved in the passing game, like in the screen game. I think
Right.
that could be a good way to slow down your defensive line. That could be a good way to create some mismatches. They just haven't done a ton of that. It's a lot of it's been a check down where there's a guy on him right away. There's
Right.
not a lot of creativity there. So if there's one thing I wish that offensive coordinator Mike Kafka and Brian Dable would do is a little bit more creativity with Barkley in the pass game. But I think it's going to be more of the same with the Giants. It's a conservative offense. You're looking at halftime. Daniel Jones is 7 of 8 for like 45 yards, and that's their game plan. They lean into Barkley. They pound the rock. They've played 7 or 8 offensive linemen, 2 or 3 tight ends a lot of times. Like they might do that to try to create some double teams on Graham and some of those guys you have in there to spring some runs, and that's what they'll do. They'll take a chance if they need to, but it's not going to be, they're not going to come out and sling the ball around the yard. At least I don't think they will. They haven't done that yet. So, former Eagle Mike Kafka.
Yeah, so talking about that offense and what they could possibly do well, where do you find the biggest kind of red flag or that biggest like, I think this is going to be problematic against the Eagles? Where's the biggest concern on the offense?
Well, I mean, your corner tandem, I mentioned it earlier. I think our receivers aren't good and your corners are really good. So like if you guys want to load the box, a lot of teams load the box against us, but
Right.
I feel like they're going to leave those corners on an island to guard Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton, and they're going to be able to, right? They're not going to need to help. So if your corners can just lock it down, maybe we're going to have to hope that our tight end Daniel Bellinger maybe has a big game, or someone else steps up. But that would be the concern, that you literally dedicate more guys than any other team has against loading the box. And like from there, it's like if the Barkley run isn't working, if we can't really pass much, the only other thing our offense has relied upon has been Daniel Jones running it, which he's done a great job of, and they draw up some plays for him and some boots. But other than that, like I don't know where the yards are going to come from. So that would be a concern.
I mean, Eagles fans know Daniel Jones could run the ball. You know, we've been fortunate enough that he tripped.
When he tripped.
But he can't score.
Hey, man. He can take off for sure. I feel like he had like 100 yards that game, which is crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, he's averaging like 40 a game. He does a good job. I think sometimes in a game they'll call a couple of boots and it'll work and it'll catch the defense completely off guard and he'll run for a first down, and then they'll go to it maybe a little too many times. And I think that they should organically let it happen instead of running him. Maybe like last game against Washington, the first 4 or 5 times it was perfect timing, play call, caught the defense off guard. But after that, I think you just gotta let it organically happen and not like try to force it too much. But
so first and foremost, we got to discuss something that's very, very serious and that's on my mind. I need you to talk to your Giants community and stop the big play slay stuff. All right, there's only one big play slay. We need to make sure that that's a thing. We need to cement that into the mind of the He-Man fans.
I was going to tweet something about big play Slay, and before I did, I was like, no, that's Darius Slay. So I haven't used that, but I was like, knowing my luck, I'll tweet this, and then Darius Slay will be picking off Daniel Jones and running into the end zone this week.
But outside of that, I mean, there's a new culture within the building, right? You guys, have a new GM, you have a new coaching staff. Brian Daboll was in running for coaching of the year when the season first started, when you guys had a hot run. It's kind of fallen off a bit, which is, it's to me, it's normal in a rookie season for a head coach. But just dive a little bit more into what you're seeing so differently from Daboll, opposed to what you saw from the previous regime.
Yeah, I liked Judge when he was here, but it's funny, like seeing the coaching this year. It's like I realized a lot of the deficiencies with Judge. Like a lot of Judge was like coach speak and like really good at the microphone, but like a lot of the stuff he says was maybe not genuine. Brian Daboll is super genuine. Like he builds a relationship with the team. Everybody on the team likes him. Even in the beginning of the year, he tried with Tony to build a relationship. That shows you how what kind of situation that was for the most receiver desperate team in the league to ship away a former first round pick receiver. Tells you all you need to know about that situation. So hopefully it works out for Kansas City. I just don't see it. But like from a relationship standpoint, they trust him. They like him. He's a player's coach. So I think that has a lot to do with the culture when he's just going to be genuine and be honest with the guys. I think that goes a long way. And he is who he is. He doesn't try to be who he's not. He's honest. He's authentic. You see him yelling at the officials in certain situations. You see him getting on his players after dumb penalties. Like he is who he is. And because of his authenticity, I think he builds that equity with the guys where he could really get in their faces because they know he's coming from a good place because he's himself all the time. He doesn't fake it with the media. He's himself. He's honest. And there's no like trying to figure out what he's thinking or feeling because he'll just be super upfront and honest with you.
I'm curious to know your thoughts on if obviously they're going to keep the coaching staff. I can't see anything unless it goes dreadfully wrong. Great coaching staff, great turnaround. Do you think that quarterback is on the radar for them in the upcoming draft?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's like Giants community is torn over that. A lot of people are like out on Jones. A lot of people are like defending Jones. It's like this constant back and forth. I think that really anything's on the table. I think that the finish of the season is going to have a lot to do, like how he performs. I think he's done a decent job, Jones. I think with what he's had around him, he's done a good job. I also think the way the coaches call the games kind of screams that they don't trust him. They've been super conservative in situations, or at least they don't trust what's around him in order to let it loose, really. So I think the thing is they're not going to be drafting in a high enough spot where they're going to be
Right.
able to get one of those top guys. If they fall in love with somebody, they could always trade up.
Mhm.
But it's kind of that situation where you either have a dude where you're never ever thinking about quarterback, and there's like 6 or 7 of those dudes in the league,
Right.
or you're
Constantly.
always thinking about it. Like even the Vikings with Kirk Cousins, they can't move off him. He's a B quarterback. He's productive. You don't just move off him for anybody because he's
Right.
productive. But I think Jones will fall into that where if they feel like there's a significant upgrade or a franchise guy, they'll make it happen. They'll try to move off him. Otherwise, they'll try to come up with like a team friendly 3-year deal that isn't like breaking the bank. And if Jones is smart, he'll take a little bit of a discount knowing that Daboll is probably best for his career moving forward in terms of, I don't think there's teams, I could be wrong. I just don't think there's going to be teams lining up to bid on him as a free agent. Right. So
Right.
that's where I think things are. So at the end of the day, I think the last few games will dictate, but because of where they'll be drafting, because of the lack of availability in free agency, unless Justin Herbert demands a trade, which I don't think is going to happen because Sean Payton will be his coach next year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that they'll probably end up signing him to like a 3-year deal for decent money. If I was a betting person, I would say that he's our quarterback next year, but we will see.
I'm real quick, Brian, before I
Wait, wait,
but I also would like to know your thoughts on who you think is the biggest rival, might not be the right word, but biggest threat to the playoff position that the Giants currently have.
Well, for the Giants, it's Washington just because we play them again and we just tied, which was huge.
Seattle's still in the run, yeah.
Seattle because they beat us, but because we tied, the tiebreakers aren't going to come into play now. It's either we're going to have more wins than that or we're not because there's not going to be that tie situation. But we're going to be battling Washington. It's probably going to be us or them. Or Seattle. As of right now, I think everybody in the NFC East is in, which is crazy because just a few years ago, we're talking about like 6 and 10, 7 and 9 teams making the playoffs, and now like
least.
now the NFC East is like back, like, which is insane to me. But Ron Rivera's done a really good job, and of course Nick Sirianni, which I said this last year with you guys too. When that opening presser, I was like, oh man, I don't know how this guy's going to lead men, but he has he's been great. He's been phenomenal. What's the criticism of him, if any, based on this year? Is there anything that you wish he did differently, or has it just been like literally he's pushing all the right buttons?
I wish he play called again. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of Shane Steichen as much as the league is. I think Sirianni is a brilliant mind, but I respect what he's doing. He took the step back approach where my coordinators do what they got to do. They call the plays, and I'm going to make sure I coach the entire team, offense, defense, special teams. Like personally, I have no complaints to the guy. Does he talk a bit much in the press conferences? Sure, but
who cares if he wins, right?
Exactly, and it's also a thing of beauty because like he breaks down the game, and it's like women talking about shopping, talking about clothes. They'll break down, what they want, what they got, and like a whole, full, thread about it. And that's literally Sirianni. He breaks it down to the T, to the very, to the soil of. I hate bringing out the garden thing, but literally to the soil of how much he loves the game. You can hear the passion when he breaks it down for the media members. He doesn't have to do that, but he goes the extra mile. To me, at least, I don't see any wrong in everything he's doing. Like he's a team first guy, and that's phenomenal to see in Philly.
Yeah,
that's great.
I think like it's the same gripes as last season. He's just improving, so it's hard to really be mad at someone who's improving. He's so young, right? And the entire Eagles coaching staff is so young. So I have to remind myself that like some of these issues are just growing pains. And the one thing is the adjustments, right? Like we will see him kind of get stuck on doing the same thing over and over again. That's kind of what you saw against Washington. It's like, oh, we should be able to do this, so we're going to keep trying. Great coaches just adjust, right? And he's getting better at that. Last season, it was like banging your head against the wall. It was like, why are we still running the football? It's not working. Or vice versa. Like for the first half of the season, we were passing the ball, right? So same thing. And so, we essentially last week kind of put that to bed. We had 2 bad weeks. Okay, what are we going to do to adjust? And then we had 2 great weeks, whereas, we're going to beat you running the ball if we have to run the ball, and we have to beat you passing the ball. So, again, like Brian said, you take a step back, but, you still love that influence where you're saying, okay, listen, let's right the ship. And you love that going into the playoffs, right? You love the fact that you can adjust because you're going to play a team in the playoffs. It's going to be like night and day. It's going to be a different team. So the fact that
No doubt.
he's going, it's good. But
That's the one
know,
thing I'm going to have to hope for too, because
yeah,
Dayball, for the majority of the season, the Giants have like pretty horrible first half points per first half and really good in the second half. They've adjusted really well. And the Eagles have dominated in the first half.
yeah,
And then the second half, like you said, gotten a little stagnant. So if we can keep it somewhat close in the first half, that's what the hope is. But oh man, I think Nick Sirianni, one of the things I like about Sirianni is last year he turned that team and leaned into the strengths with an identity with
Yep.
Jalen Hurts and the run game. And he didn't try to make Jalen Hurts do stuff that at that point in his development he wasn't ready to do.
Right.
He didn't try to do things outside of the scope of what they could do. And they were beating teams last year and running the ball and not apologetic. They were going to do what they were going to do and impose their will. And they had an identity early on, even when maybe some of the pieces weren't fully developed. So they had that identity. They stick with it. They know who they are. And right now they can beat you in so many different ways. A lot of that is credited to Nick Sirianni with the way that he kind of leaned into their identity early on and let the guys develop and not try to do too much too soon with Jalen Hurts. Dude, Jalen Hurts is the story of the year, man. He has been incredible.
So before we're at the 50-minute mark, and I'm gonna bring back Eric and Zach to get over predictions. But before we get there, your take on MVP of the league.
Interesting.
So I was big on Mahomes for the majority of the season, especially losing Tyreek Hill and seeing kind of how it almost hasn't mattered to him in the offense. And it seems like he's almost a better quarterback without him, which is crazy to me. So I was on Mahomes early. The last couple weeks, though, it's really hard to not have Jalen Hurts up there with them being 11-1 and just the way they've won games too. Like any big matchup he's in, he throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like any big time matchup, like you see him throwing the ball down the field, and it's not like just him running the ball and dinking and dunking. It's like down the field, beating you in a multitude of ways. So I would say that, in my opinion, I would have those two kind of leading the pack as of now. And then behind them, I love Josh Allen. I think if you want to throw him in there behind them, like that's okay to me. I think Burrow has really come on strong the last several weeks. He's
dark horse for sure.
So yeah, those are probably the guys. See, it's probably stops after those four. But right now, you have to give it to Hurts right now. Like he's got to be the leader as of now. What do you guys think?
I think the narrative of Patrick, like it's almost like the Patrick Mahomes plus, right? Like there's this kind of like aura he gives out, and that's just tough to overcome. Like I don't think I don't think the league enjoys Philly fans and Philly people. You know what I mean? Like right, he's losing to Geno Smith in Pro Bowl votes, so like you know what I mean? Like it's gonna be tough.
I think the league is better though when the NFC East has some good teams. I do believe that.
100%. So I think it's gonna be tough to overcome Patrick Mahomes. Like it's probably his to lose at this point, and he's not gonna lose it. You know, there's not gonna be that game where it's like, what's Patrick Mahomes doing? I mean, you never know, but you know, it seems like he's not gonna lose it, and so I think it's 1A, 1B, but I do think Jalen Hurts is probably 1B right now, just because you know he's not Patrick Mahomes.
Well, there's some games left, but. It's almost like that Michael Jordan and LeBron James factor. It's like they could have won the MVP every year. But like Mahomes, I feel like for the last few years, one of the guys on ESPN said it well, like a few weeks ago. It may have been like Marcellus White. I forget who it was, but it's like we're almost looking to anoint somebody other than Mahomes for the last few years because we're numb to how brilliant he is. Right. And like last year, it was like, what about Herbert? What about Josh Allen? And this year, it's like, what about Hurts? What about like Burrow? And like we're always trying to like.
Yeah.
We're numb to how great Mahomes is. We take it for granted a little bit. So I think he's victim to that in a sense. But to your point, that's crazy that Geno Smith is ahead of Hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, Geno's having a great year in respect to Geno, but Hurts has got to be, in my opinion, if you don't think he's the MVP, you have to put him like second. Like, so.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think my thing is, to me at least, if I'm looking at MVP, I'm looking at what's the difference this year, right? Obviously, you know that there's a difference of Mahomes not having Tyreek Hill, but we're still seeing the same brilliance of Patrick Mahomes that we've seen year after year since he's been in the league. But you're seeing a difference maker in Jalen Hurts, to us at least. Obviously, we don't get the vote, but it's I agree with Morgan. It's going to end up being Pat Mahomes until it isn't. Although Hurts has been brilliant. I mean, you've literally seen the guy grown from a second round pick who was quote unquote to be the Taysom Hill player to taking over for Carson Wentz, having a struggling year where he can't throw a deep pass. Dude, now he threw 3 deep touchdowns in last game, and he's been, like you said, like the big games he shows up with 300 plus passing yards.
Sure.
Are we going to see that again from Jalen Hurts? Probably not. But at least in my opinion, you should have known the one who's the difference maker. We've seen the same from Pat Mahomes. We haven't seen the same from Jalen Hurts. He's an upcoming player, but he's also facing the face of the league. It's like Steph Curry. You're facing the face of the league at the end of the day.
Yeah, and there's still some games left, so we'll see how it plays out. But I'm sure that I'm sure they're both gonna get votes, right? Like I mean, it's not a year where it's gonna be unanimous like it was. I think a few years ago it was like Lamar unanimous maybe that year or something like that. But I think it's gotta be one of those two probably.
All right, so we're at the 55-minute mark. I think Zach off. He has something. So we brought Eric back, and let's go over predictions. Who wants to draw a short straw?
Man, I'm gonna go 31-17. I've been thinking about this for a little bit. So 31-17.
Eric came ready.
He came ready for a war.
It's just a feel, man. Like I'm not gonna sit here and describe it to you. Just 31-17 Philly.
I'm not gonna give
analysis, fellas.
I think it's gonna be in the same ballpark, to be honest. Like, I think Eric just came in and stole all our thunders. I don't know, like that seems right to me. I don't know what you're talking about either with the gut feeling, but it seems right. And then just like it's similar to what Mikey was saying. Like, it's just if the Giants can keep it close in the first half, it might be a tight game. But the way the Eagles looked against the Titans, and I know that, the Titans aren't a great passing defense and anything like that. The Giants are probably a step better in that regard and can create a bit more in the pass rush now that Kayvon Thibodeau is back and stuff like that. But it just seems like the same type of game where you got one team that pounds the rock and they do it well and they clock control. That just can't keep pace with what the Eagles are able to do on offense. Like at some point, unless you are consistently stopping the Eagles on offense, you won't be able to keep up just by running the football. And 17 is about the amount of points that you score running the football in today's NFL. That's what you get. You look at the Giants scores, like they've been hovering around like 17 to 24, and that's what you get. And then you have the Eagles where they can do a bit of both, and they're hovering around 28. So it just seems like the right score. I don't know, but yeah. So I'm gonna go 31-17. I'll switch it up a bit.
When Morgan says that that's what you get, don't you feel like you're being reprimanded by your dad or something like that?
Oh man,
I feel like you're being put in your place. Like that's what you get. That's just what you get.
I think he said 31-17 though, right, Eric?
31-17, nailed it. We're in the same wagon.
Yeah. I'm gonna go a little bit same ballpark, just a little less. I go 28-13. I think Philly controls the game for the first half. Enter the second half, I think they do what they've done best against teams that they're just supposed to put away. And they eat up the clock, they run the ball, they I don't want to say they cruise, but they handle the matchup the way they're supposed to handle the matchup. I think losing to the Commanders was a wake-up call. I think keeping close against the Colts was also a fluke. So this team, like I've been saying all year, like they're treating this season like a preseason because this team is built for the long haul. So they're going to keep doing that. They're going to see what works against the Giants, see what doesn't work, take it out of the playbook, and keep moving forward. How you feeling,
Yeah,
Mike?
I'm going to say the Giants cover 27-23 Philly, and the Giants scratch and claw and show guts and all that. And they got some guys back recently, so I'm going to say that they battle and keep it to a one-score game. Somehow find a way to cover. What is it? 6.5? They have it at.
So I was going to ask you that because I don't know. I was going to ask you that because I just came in like this is how I feel, and I'm betting the over.
Whatever it is, it's the over. Eric's betting it. Doesn't matter.
Let's go for it. Double down.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say 27-23 Eagles. Giants keep it close. Interesting enough, but it's 7 points, so we're gonna cover. Find a way to cover.
Well, Mike, we do appreciate you coming on. Second year in a row. I'm pretty sure probably Might as well, right? Bring you back for the last game of the season at this rate. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
If
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys might
time, for
you
sure.
guys might be resting everybody, and we might need that game. So
Yeah.
We could talk about that. We could talk about our backups and enlighten you a bit about them.
Good, yeah.
But-
Anytime, guys. It was great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we definitely do appreciate it, man. So I don't know if I'm telling you, I saw a couple of Giants guys in the chat. So I don't know if you want to tell everybody where they can find you at, and things of that sort.
Yeah, at Mikey Fresh, what is it, 04? Something like that. Yeah, at Mikey Fresh 04. And yeah, I haven't been doing as much stuff lately, but I'll try to be as active as I can, and I'll certainly join you guys whenever. So
Sounds like a plan, brother. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
good stuff. Have a good night, fellas.
You too.
Take care, Mike. All right, awesome. So that was Mikey Fresh to cover the Giants. And yeah, I mean, we gave our predictions. We had a hell of an intro for the call. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's been an interesting day. Definitely an interesting day. Yeah.
When you said 13, are you thinking like 2 Saquon Barkley touchdowns and then they miss an extra point?
I'm thinking that. I'm thinking
Yeah.
maybe 2 field goals and a touchdown.
I'm thinking that.
Okay.
I like
So
that.
I was like, that's the way I thought about it. I'm like, Saquon's gonna be pulling that team. I feel like, unless
Nah, I think
Daniel Jones gets a weird like 40-yard rush.
I think it's two field goals and a touchdown. Honestly,
Mm.
it's hard to really like. I don't know how to say this, but I hate to sound biased, but like I want people to know, like, we're as unbiased as possibly can be. We definitely try our best to do that. And this Eagles team is really that good, just like the title of this episode. They're really that freaking good. I mean, their defense is keeping up with the offense at the end of the day. That's a key ingredient to a successful team. And you're seeing this offense now learning their lessons against the Commanders, learning their lessons against the Colts, and they're putting up numbers. They're doing what people want them to do, and people are still not satisfied. And when I say people, I say everybody outside of Philly, because we know Philly loves the Eagles.
Go Birds. Go Birds.
Is that all we got left? Go Birds. Let's
Yes,
go.
sir.
Go Birds. Go Birds. Go Birds. Go Birds.